sembra di capire che tra lei e Monsanto non ci sia grande simpatia. La domanda successiva è: quale può essere, quale deve essere il ruolo delle opinioni pubbliche, soprattutto occidentali, penso all'Europa in particolare, per sperimentare, promuovere degli stili di vita responsabili e dunque sostenibili? La giustizia sociale è il cuore della sua scelta di vita, perché non è solo un impegno accademico. Che cosa le opinioni pubbliche dovrebbero sapere di più per sostenere queste lotte in un tempo tra l'altro nel quale la crisi economica globale mette in discussione nel complesso le nostre scelte di vita quotidiane e forse può essere anche un'opportunità per rivedere nel complesso il nostro modo di vivere?
I think the opportunity is huge and we can't afford to miss it. Because missing it means a crisis from which humanity will never recover. It used to be the case before globalization that there was a third world that had been left poor because of colonialism. We weren't poor to start with. You know, the British came to us because we were rich. And they wanted to get our wealth, our textiles, our spices. And they controlled it and shifted the wealth. And then we had independence movements. And we sorted it out. We stopped the famines, we got food to everyone. Small farms were protected, they weren't a source of extracting revenue, they were a source of livelihood and food security. We changed the narrative. And then globalization, in a way, took us right back to the old colonialism with two new elements. New technologies, for example, genetic engineering, and new legal systems, like intellectual property rights on life. They didn't exist, and the British could only own the land. The new empire is based on owning life on earth and collecting royalties from every step of reproduction of the seed. So give me a royalty. And that's why Monsanto sits in St. Louis, does nothing. They take a patent, sit back, and collect royalties. 10 billion rupees every year on cotton alone from India. But we haven't even done the sums on what is the flow of royalty for soya bean and for corn and for the canola that they own and control. The economic crisis today has deeply polarized the world in a different way from the old North-South divide. You know, the old North-South divide meant that because of the welfare state, everyone in Europe had a decent life because you had a welfare state. You had a right to work, you had security, you had pensions, you had everything that made an equal society. And that is exactly what's under attack. And you know, look today towards Europe, you see Greece, you see the protests in Italy. I advised President Zapatero, former President Zapatero, he had such plans for his country, can't do a thing because of the structural adjustment that was imposed on Spain. And meantime, India is called the rising, emerging country. But we too are polarized. That one, you know, the 1%, 99% that's talked about in the Occupy movement, I think it's 0.01% in India, controlling about half of all the natural assets of the country, through all kinds of means of privatization, of resource grab. And WTO was established with the claim that $200 billion is what would be the additional flow in the world. The 200 billion is just the money, extra money made by the coal industry by getting cheap coal from India. And the same is for bauxite, and the same is iron ore. They're all descending on India. And we are being made into a supplier for raw material. I know, for example, the entire super exploitation of people, people and ecology that takes place in China is what makes China the manufacturing hub of the world. If China protected its rivers and China protected the rights of its workers, there is no way they could produce goods as cheap as they do. So what the lifestyle change we need today is this. We're in an economic model with no rules for the exploiters at all. No country can govern this totally mobile capital, which is destroying the planet and destroying society and world everywhere. For the first time, we are given this opportunity to redefine the human agenda, to protect nature, what I call in my latest book, Make Peace with the Earth, while creating new human opportunities on different indicators that have been used. The old indicators externalized costs, and so they made the most exploitative process cheap and so-called efficient. New indicators have to take the cost to nature, the cost to society into account. They have to take the cost of social justice into account. And I think the very big shift that is happening all over, it's there, underground, it's in every, I did the school meeting this morning. Young people, they know what situation is being created for them. They know their future is closing. And I really feel we're at the moment where what I say is, our footprint has been made very big. There was one poster this morning on the peace thing, will I have to eat up someone else or will I be eaten by someone else? That shouldn't have to be our option. We should be able to look after each other in solidarity. So we have to reduce our ecological footprint and enlarge our handprint, which means work for people, production capacity, and finally, and even more expand our heartprint, which is to enlarge our heart, to embrace the earth, her life, her abundance, and enlarge our heart to embrace all of humanity while building local economies. We have to localize economically, we have to globalize in our consciousness.
Recentemente mi è capitato